But how sad is that you need to drink this liquid that literally slows your brain down so that you can connect with people?
Hi, I'm Andy.
And I'm Roger.
And welcome to The Middle,
where we try to have thoughtful conversations
about awkward topics
on our search to find the middle.
We're going to give you last week's news today.
That's a slogan we should put on a t-shirt.
Stop touching her!
I am tonight announcing my candidacy.
Taylor Swift.
Look, my biggest issue with marriage is that I think that it's a fundamentally flawed institution that is built on the oppression of women.
I will not be lectured about sexism and misogyny.
Having truly rational conversations about controversial issues is risky these days.
Andy, how you doing?
Oh, good. In the thick of packing still, Roger.
This is the pack that never ends.
I know. Never. It's
have you lost it at the wife yet, or vice versa?
Today. Yeah. Well, so like you know when you're packing and you just see so much stuff that's going to get done.
Yeah.
And like I don't know about you, but like I do think there's like gender roles tend to come into like into the frame when it comes to packing a house. So there's like I like all the outside. I did all the outside, the garage,
all the dirty stuff.
Yeah, just even the kitchen, like just because it's it's like big heavy pots, pans, all that sort of stuff.
Oh, to be fair, you bought 90% of the kitchen.
True. But I got to be honest. I did all the unpacking of I can't even remember if it was today or it was yesterday, but I disassembled a bunk bed, those kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like I'm making, like, I'm doing lots of things, like I'm getting in and getting stuff done, right? Then I turn around and the wife's like, looking through photo albums and dusting them off and carefully putting, them in plastic sleeves and things like that. I was like, oh, come on, like can you see how much, there's so much stuff to do. Like
it's like when you're asked to clean out your childhood bedroom and you get distracted because you find an old yearbook. It takes forever to do anything.
Yeah. But it's...
but that's definitely the gender norms, You got to be doing, like you said, you could be doing the dirty work, disassembling furniture, all that crap. But the expectation is that the wife does the fragile packing of, that weird martini glass in crepe paper, and packs all that kind of stuff.
Well, I did do today. All of my sons built Lego sets.
What do you mean?
So all of the Lego sets that are like very proudly on display, bubble wrapped. Delicate,
oh, I see.
Delicate wrapping with, box, each having its own bespoke box, so it's, not going to flap about. Yeah, so that was
actually,
my job.
That's probably a good question for me to ask you, because you know how you're saying that your boy is a teenager now and he's fairly low maintenance. Has he been very helpful in the pack, or is he still kind of useless?
No. It's more like quite the reverse. It's kind of like.
Isn't it in his best interest to pack his own stuff?
No. Like, this is the school. This is holidays, right? This is his holiday, right? There's no talk of him doing any work. But not only that, it's like it's why is that packed away? It's still 3 days until we move. Why is all this as though we're going to get up the morning of the move and pack it all?
Excellent. Well, I really feel for you because packing, I think everyone, I've never met someone on this, God's green earth that enjoys packing, right? There might be a few people who love the art of like wrapping or, that kind of feeling of satisfaction when you can load the boot up in a Tetris-like manner. But no, universally, one of the human experiences that are universally terrible is packing, and especially if you have a house, let's be honest, it's a lot easier when you have an apartment.
It's a big job. It's a big job.
Yeah. And just to realize how much crap you have. Like, I don't know about you, but going through Christmas, tonight's been the first bin run. So the garbage collection since Christmas. And it's really bad, man. It's really dire. The amount of rubbish that went out. I'm so lucky that in my street, there's a lot of people that don't fill up their bins, because I feel like I've thrown away 4 bins worth, just like by taking half a bin here, half a bin there from other people, obviously after they're finished with it. But there's just been so much waste and rubbish and packaging and just like, excess of Christmas. I actually feel I'm not usually very vulnerable to this, but I kind of feel a little bit nauseous thinking about it, just how much there is.
I think there's a minimalist side to me, which I don't know if we've spoken about before, but there's something about just living out of a suitcase that I really like, the bigger the house, the more stuff there is. It's just the cost of having it is too low. So the cost of having things that you don't need or use, there is no cost because you just put it in that quiet corner and you don't have to worry about it for 25 years sort of thing. And that's a real danger if you let yourself get into that without having that's the one good thing about moving is it forces you to go through that journey.
It does and it doesn't though, because it creates its own problems. You might start off that way, but depending on where you are in your fatigue, your packing fatigue, you'll start to have those miscellaneous boxes where I don't have time for this, and you just sweep an entire drawer, that kind of dump all drawer or shelf into a box. It's like, I'll deal with this when I get there. And then what happens when you get to the new place? It stays in the box, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, are you when you unpack, are you just like everything gets unpacked this weekend, or are you like, no, there's going to be boxes for the next 3 months?
Well, I've experienced both, but let me just say that because of the complication with our move, where we actually inherited a house and we had to move like some other people's things out, family members' items out, and keep some. Let's just say that the garage has not been operational for 18 months. It's full of boxes, yet we somehow still have a full house inside. So we're dreading going through this, the great wall of boxes out there when we have nowhere to put it inside. So it's going to have to be some really ruthless exchanging of things or whatever. And it's actually very overwhelming. It's a horrible monkey on your back. But definitely, and we just don't have any time to do it. The kids hardly go down, and you need people. I need to take a week off work to do it. This is the thing, right? Or I can't even pay someone to do it, right? It's really hanging over me. It's something that we're going to tackle next year. Anyway, let's. I am aware it's a privilege to have the space to actually even have boxes nowadays, so I don't want to complain too much. What I want to talk to you about is something that someone approached me in the Christmas break, and they're a new migrant to Australia, okay, and they're an Indian migrant to Australia. They're coming in without knowing a lot of people, and I know them through work, and they kind of asked me, I'm struggling with the social aspects of Australian culture, and I'm struggling to actually make friends, make conversation. How do I get in a groove? Do you have any advice? Right. And it was a really interesting thing because I don't think anyone's ever really asked me that before. For a range of reasons, probably. I've been very approachable, but just strange to we take for granted the idea that you just know what to do, right? And it got me thinking, right? What advice would that be? It also got me thinking about a book that I read a very, very long time ago, a very famous book called, it's Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Have you ever read that book?
I've not. Can't you tell?
Well, I just thought maybe in true Andy style you read it and disregarded it. But okay, well, let's start with that. So if I was giving you the assignment, or if I was coming to you for advice, I was coming to Andy for advice and saying, hey, how do I get people to like me? How do I make friends and get people to like being around me? What would you, in Australia, what would you say to them?
I think you've got to find your people. You've got to find out it's less about making people like you. It's more about finding the right people who will like you because you have shared interests or you have a shared understanding. And it's like finding that tribe, that group of people. And once you've found that group, whether it's by interest, whether it's by age, lifestyle, whatever, so it's not about changing yourself or anything you do. It's more about, it's like supply and demand. Like if you're the seller, you got to find the buyer.
Oh, well, what you're selling is not very popular. Okay. All right. Well, that was a very good answer in terms of staying true to yourself, but I don't think is what this Indian immigrant was looking for. He was looking for more the fundamentals, right? So let me talk to you about this book. So what I want to do in this episode, in this chat, is to talk about, in a very conceptual level, what the advice is in Dale Carnegie's classic bestseller, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and for us to have a bit of a commentary on whether it's still good advice in 2025, soon to be 2026, and for the Australian market, right? Because this is a book that has been read millions and million times over, and it has some, real life advice, right? Okay? Let me kick it off, and I'll kind of, obviously I won't go through the whole book, but I'll give you the themes and the chunks, and maybe we can talk about what you think about them. Cool?
Yep.
All right. So the first one is about fundamental techniques in handling people. So the things Dale Carnegie is talking about. So the whole premise of the book is also, people aren't logical and rational. They're mainly driven by emotion and social conventions and relationships, right? So that's the kind of overarching theme. But his first one that he talks about in handling people is don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Criticism makes people defensive and entrenched, and it's not reflective. His other bit was give honest and sincere appreciation and arouse in others an eager want. Frame ideas around what they want, not what you want. So let's just take that family of advice first. What do you think? Still sound in Australia 2025?
Well, maybe, but I think, and this might be going a bit too meta for you, but I kind of feel like the premise of this whole thing is wrong, right? Like, I think if you have to try, you're almost ruling it, like, you're not authentic. You're not being like it.
Why is let's go there. Why is that even important? Because it wasn't
fake.
Really as important in times gone by.
Well, it comes across as insincere, right? It's this. It's like when you go into a shop and you speak to a really nice sales assistant. Like, they're not actually. It's a very insincere relationship. Like, it's not. They're not genuinely interested in why you're in the shop. They're buying whatever it is, right? They're there to sell you something, right? And those kind of insincere relationships are a dime a dozen. Like, the quintessential sort of real estate sort of mode, right? I find that personally for me, and maybe others are different, but I find that very off-putting, actually.
Well, let's. This is what I'm trying to get to. This. Let's take it one piece at a time. So again, trying to give someone advice on how to handle people. So the premise here is not always that you want to meet your soulmate or your best bud. It could also be that you're just trying to move through the world handling people, right?
Yeah, well, okay, so to deal with the first one, generally criticizing people is not that's not I can't remember what exactly the words were, but that's probably not the best way to start.
Yeah, right. So still good advice. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain.
Yeah, that's generally a one-way ticket to not making a good first impression.
All right, what about if you complain about something? Like, say if you don't, like, you're not trying to complain about the person directly that you're talking to, but you're just a complainer. What about that?
Yeah, so if you're a complainer, like if you're going to start complaining about the tap water or something in a restaurant, you're going to come across as annoying, right? But if you want to have like a shared, if you have two people complaining about a shared mutual, thing that they have a problem with, that is the recipe bonding, for great right? success.
Yeah. But also, like, don't you think that, again, this book was written a very long time ago. I think the complainer has a place in 2025 because, complaining or being negative about something is a gateway into comedy. It's a gateway into creative thinking. It's the whole Seinfeld thing. It's a lot of this stuff. Like, I actually think people like that more than we think.
Maybe the flip side is people don't like overly optimistic people or overly bright and everything's always great. Like, and I notice this a little bit with, like, between the generations, right? It's like this idea that you would never go to a restaurant and criticize the food. You would always, like, so you go to a restaurant and you say, oh, that's lovely. Oh, that was really nice. Or that was amazing. When it really wasn't. It was just like a subpar Thai meal kind of thing. Like, that's I think a difference. Like, because I think I find boomers are very...
Yeah, they're sensitive to that.
Very sort of, kind of like...
It's the proper way to approach things. But I think that there's some cultural differences there. So I know, for example, if you go out to eat with Southeast Asians of my parents' generation, it's kind of fair game to dunk on the restaurant almost while you're there. And one that's very, very jarring for Westerners when they are exposed to this is when they talk about the money side. Like, it'd be very, very common to go out with a bunch of Asians of that generation at a restaurant, and they'd look at the menu and like, oh my God, what a ripoff! Like the prices on here are like crazy, right? And to a Westerner, they think, oh, why are you even talking about price? You're ruining a nice meal, and that's just not the that's just not the intent there. They have a different attitude towards that. But okay, let's move on. So, what about this idea? I think the honest and sincere appreciation. So this whole thing around people crave recognition more than money or status. Do you think that's true?
Recognition more than money and status?
Or status, yeah.
Sorry, and what's the action? What's the call to action?
The call to action is to give honest and sincere appreciation. So, I mean, I guess it's like giving people, honest compliments.
Yeah, so, okay, see, this one, like, I think maybe it's not mutually exclusive, so I think you can, people probably like recognition, and that's the way to, like, sincere recognition, as in like a sense of like, oh, someone sincerely recognizes what I've done, not hasn't just done almost the formulaic pattern of recognition.
I mean, the fact that they're saying sincere and honest, like, it's a winner, right? In 2025, right? People love some kind of insight about themselves.
But I have a theory, right, about social interactions, and it might be more true of younger people than older people, because I think older people probably, as you age, you get a little bit more mature in your way of thinking about relationships. But I do have a bit of a theory. But that said, I think we are status-seeking individuals, and I have, so my working theory is that people, and come to think of it, I don't even know if it probably exists up to older ages as well. And I think people want to associate with people either at their same status level or above. And
you think it's that conscious, or you think it's behind the scenes?
No, I think it's maybe not like conscious in the sense of who's the highest status than me, or I'm going to go after this person and see if I can, kind of get in with this person. I don't think it's quite like that, but I think it probably is like an energizing relationship. Like, it energizes your motivation to associate with someone if you perceive them to be high status. So, like, maybe an example would be, like, let's say someone who's kind of like on the periphery of being a celebrity or famous, or not necessarily like an actor or a singer or something like that, but they might just be a respected, like, well-known academic, or maybe even a politician, or someone like, they could be in any professional sphere, right? If they're a known person, and you can have not just you saw them and you said hello and you got their autograph kind of association with them, but you genuinely, you were genuinely welcomed in. Like, some people are like kind of drawn to that.
Yeah, that's true. Like,
and that's for adults, but like, if you look at the schoolyard, the schoolyard is like the perfect example of where this happens. It's like there's the cool kids and the popular,
the magnetism around them.
Yeah, and it's like status gives you status, like, and people are status driven. So I don't buy that point around people value recognition more than status, because I actually don't think that's true. I actually think people value status more than anything else when it comes to relationships.
Yeah.
Especially seeking and
aspirational ones, yeah. All right, let's move on to the next tranche, because there's lots of little items and throwaway things in here, but I want to pick out the fun ones. So this one is a tranche of advice about how to make people like you. Now, I think this is probably where you'll have the hardest time in trying to...
What are you trying to say?
Well, no, I'm not trying to say you personally, but from your comments around the concept that you should change yourself to make yourself more likable, because you see that as being inauthentic or fake. But I think, again, we're probably touching on an Australian sensibility here that I hate phonies. Anyway, let's talk about what his thing are, because some of these things are very practical and very superficial too. So the first one, not so much. Become genuinely interested in other people. So curiosity builds connection. I'll run through a few first. Number 5, smile. Warmth disarms people and builds rapport. 6, remember and use people's names. A person's name affirms their identity and importance. 7, be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves. People enjoy being heard more than being impressed. Next one, talk in terms of the other person's interest. And the last one in this section is make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. respect fuels goodwill and cooperation. All right. Let's some of them are motherhood statements. I'm going to skip them. I'm going to start with the first one, smile.
Well, I think what I would probably do is maybe separate, like, because I think in some respects we all have like a work persona, right? And I think some of these things that, you know, you've just read out, I think you could equally say how to be a well-liked and respected person in the workplace, right? And I think
some of that is what the book is about.
Right. So I think all of those things, smile, let people use their name, all of those things are probably good advice, right? And maybe maybe you wouldn't criticize it as being fake in the same way as you would when you're actually talking about like real people in their true selves, being a real honest person. Like, I mean, not that we have like like this sort of idea that you just be fake at work or, that kind of thing. But like, I think there's a certain, like, it's partially about being a good professional, like, person in your job that is seen as a good person to work, like, that brings value to your organization and is, can get like other people to like want to work with you and want to help you achieve the things you need to achieve, right? Which makes, so
absolutely.
I think,
don't you feel in some ways that this really generic advice is almost made for Gen Zs who have problems with this kind of stuff? Like, this is actually quite good advice for a brand new Gen Z coming into the workforce.
I guess the bit where I struggle with some of this stuff though is because, like, and this is probably when I don't know if we'll get into a conversation about like finding friends as a 40-year-old, but like, I do think that with all of those things that you've just read out, from smile to whatever the next ones were, like, you've got to have a motivation. Like, you've got to, it's not just this like just suffer through these sets of, this suite of steps, right? Suffer through them and then you'll make a friend. You have to be interested in what they're telling you. If I'm out there like talking to someone who wants to, tell me about, I don't know, the caving adventure they went on the weekend, like, part of me doesn't give a shit. I'm not interested. It doesn't excite me. It doesn't interest me. And I'm not really that interested in hearing about it, if I'm honest. So yes, I could set them up to tell me all about their hobby and their interest in caving. But if I'm not interested in caving, I don't really, that's not a good conversation for me to be involved in. And so I'm not going to be interested in that. And I probably don't want to have, I don't want to be part of the caving club when I'm not into caving, put it that way.
I think that you're thinking about trying to find like a really strong, true friend, right? And this advice can be a bit more general. So I do agree that's slightly different, right? And to be honest with you, this is also a male thing, right? Like, on average, I think men struggle with this stuff way more than women, on average, right? Men smile less. They I know that I do. Like, I go around and I have the equivalent of, resting bitch face sometimes. Like, I'm a stern guy, like, I'm very unapproachable. I'm definitely not smiling. Like, I don't have that kind of American customer service view, Cheshire cat thing. Can
I ask, how are you, like, when you're ordering a coffee or something? Like, are you...
Nah, like, I'm stone cold Steve Austin. Like, I'm not smiling. I'm not giving great eye contact.
See, I think I've been trained to do that. I've been trained to in when I'm in shops.
I'm polite, but I'm not friendly.
Yeah, well, because cafe is one thing, but like, there's lots of other settings where I'll put on. I don't know whether it's that I worked in retail for like 6 or 7 years, but like, I kind of.
No, but yeah, that's just how I go through the world, right? And I probably could deal with that a little bit more. And I have come along to it as I've aged. I understand that actually, hey, you might have this identity or personal brand that you're kind of like, a no shit taking kind of guy or whatever. But actually, your energy and your, how you present in the world has a big impact on people. And if there's something small that you can do, you probably should think about doing it, right? You probably should actually, if you're frowning and you're a bit of a jerk or whatever, not a bit of a jerk, but you're just like giving out this negative, cold energy, it could actually, rub off into people, and that could have a bit of a ripple effect. So as I've gotten older, I have softened that a little bit, or made attempts to, right? So I think it's good advice, but again, Australian culture, just very, we're very weird about overly friendly people, right? And I think that because it seems phony or whatever. The next part, though, I think is good advice, the one after that, which is remember and use people's name. I think that there's something magical about this for many, many different reasons, but I do feel that if you can remember someone's name and you use it a little bit more than you would naturally feel like doing so, it does really, people like that. And it's it's a weird thing, but people love hearing their own name. It's like the whole Destiny's Child thing. Say my name, say my... there's something about it. I don't know what it is exactly, but people are self-centered and they like hearing their name. Yeah.
So out of 10, how good are you at remembering people's names?
Well, I've gotten better as I've gotten older. I would say that I started off my career or in my 20s as maybe like a 4 out of 10. And now I think I'm like an 8 out of 10, right? So I try to concentrate when I introduce a bit more now, when I get introduced to someone. I still struggle, but and it's definitely gotten easier in the land of, especially at work with teams and all these kind of directories and things have helped a lot. But no, I'm probably a 7 or 8 now. What about you?
I don't have like the knack of just being like randomly introduced to someone and then remembering their name. Like I could literally be introduced to someone and their name, and like midway through the conversation, I will not know their name.
See, this is why people love it too, because it affirms to them that you actually care enough, like that they know your name. You know their name, sorry.
See, I don't think I'm bad with names when, like, through natural experience and engagement and exposure with that person, I will know their name and learn it, and it will be, or I might take some steps to, I remember that person's name, what's their name again, kind of thing. And then eventually, you know everyone's names, like in this kind of, one moment it doesn't happen, the next moment it does. But, yeah, but like, I think that kind of, and it must be a biological or a brain kind of.
Do you think it's related to something as mechanical as phone numbers? You know how some people just have the knack of hearing phone numbers and then remembering them?
I just think we are not told, like, evolution has supported us to recognize faces, but not to recognize names. So, like, we just can't. Yeah, I don't know. I just think,
but you got to admit though, Andy, that it's related to hierarchy. Like you have to be honest with yourself that you are less likely to forget a name of your superiors than you are of your peers.
Yeah, but that's because you probably know their name before you even meet them, right? So,
well, I don't know. You know it's important to remember the name, and so you do.
No, but you don't usually get introduced to a superior, and that's the first time you're learning that your superior, their name is blah. Like normally if you meet a superior, like you will, you know what I mean? Like you look up.
I just means like it's more important to you, right? Like when you first learned your wife's name, you didn't forget it, did you? You remember straight away.
Maybe,
right?
I don't know, possibly.
Nah, come on.
But yeah, I think there's also a volume thing, right? So
yeah, if you go like a workshop or a dinner party you've never been to, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Now there's a family of ones I just wanted to really touch on, which is be a good listener, talk in terms of the other person. Like these empathetic tendencies to actually kind of allow people to express themselves without you recentering the conversation on you. I mean, again, you're hard to argue with that.
This all sounds very tiring.
Well, that's what we're going to ask, right? So again, this can be a male thing, right? Especially supercharged in the corporate world where people want to get to the point. They want to get out of the room. They want to leave the conversation and get on with their day.
Do you know, this is, can I just say, like, this is why there is a place for 5 o'clock Friday night drinks in the workplace. Like, since when that became, well, it partially came because no one's fucking in the office on a Friday at 5 o'clock, but also because, yeah, like, made it like that the idea of work drinks. Oh, it might exclude some, and like, fuck that shit. Like, this is the stuff that actually genuinely builds bonds And it makes it so easy and so...
But how sad is that you need to drink this liquid that literally slows your brain down so that you can connect with people?
This has been happening for centuries. This is the way the world has worked for a very long time. And, I just think, there's nothing... Like, let's be perfectly honest about this, right? There's nothing that will make and help a group of people bond more quickly and more thoroughly than getting them together in a pub, sharing a few drinks. Like,
well, I think
minute for minute.
The flaw, I mean, of course I agree with you, but the flaw with that nowadays, and actually to an extent always has been, that you'll get a group of people that do drink and get merry, and they connect and they bond and they form a clique very fast. But there's tons of people who, for various reasons, either don't drink, can't drink, they can't stay out or whatever, and they get excluded. Like, that is true, right? And I do understand that can be, like, that's not exactly optimal in terms of you getting the best out of your workforce. You can't trap them in a room and get them all high, on vapors or something. They have to, be there partaking.
Yeah, but, there's lots of things that, like, to succeed in the workplace, not everyone can do. Like, not everyone can work 12-hour days, but, like, that's sometimes what's expected. You got to pull it in sometimes, like, when not everyone can do that. Like,
that's true.
I'm just making the more general point that not everyone has the tolerance, the
alcoholic tolerance,
the pain threshold to sit through Dale Carnegie's how many points? Like,
yeah, well, let's not go there. But I mean, look, we all know the pain though. Don't you feel that when you are conversing with a really bad listener, like I'm not even talking about just people who aren't great listeners. I'm talking about a bad listener. It's excruciating. It's actually one of the most excruciating experiences where you can just tell they are not listening to you at all. They're just waiting for you to finish so that they can talk about what they want to talk about, right? Like, whether it's a work setting or whether it's whatever, like, that's bad. But it's very hard to come back from that.
See, this is where, coming back to my very first comment, this is why it's so important to find your people who want to talk about the same thing. Like, there's just like an epiphany, right? Like, have you ever been around people who just want to talk about sport?
Yeah.
And like...
The worst one for me is cricket.
Well...
It's like when you get those real cricket heads.
But it's... And I'm not dissing that kind of a conversation. Like that's a good topic for men to bond and relate over, right? So, like, we need more things like that for people to connect over. So that's a big plus. Like, if people can talk about that in that kind of way, then that's a good thing. And I think for us, like, maybe we're probably, like, not, you and me, I don't think are as sport centric as others, but we're into, like, the kind of shit we talk about, right? Which is, like, that's the same thing. It's just men running around in suits rather than in their tidy whities kind of thing. Like, it's the same shit. So we're talking about the drama, the soap opera nature of everything around it. Like, that's the same kind of tapping into the same roots. Like, and if you're mixing, like, the sport person with the politics person, then they're not, like, it's not going to work, because the politics guy wants to talk about fucking Mamdani and the sports guy wants to talk about, like, the 2-day test, Boxing Day test, like, it's, and they're not interested. They don't even, well, actually, maybe Mamdani, is he from Pakistan? Maybe he does know about cricket.
Isn't he? He's from Africa. Anyway.
I don't know.
I won't go there.
Morocco. I don't know.
Isn't it funny, though, how many... It's kind of gone out of fashion now, But in the corporate world, leaders, I remember at the start of my career, it was almost synonymous with sports-loving, sports analogy style discussions from your senior leaders. Like, it was so common at a corporate town hall or whatever for the leader to be talking about their sporting passion, the teams that they followed. Every second thing would be a sports analogy around teamwork or what they had to achieve and whatever. Now that's definitely gone a little bit out of style, which, don't you think?
I think these are some of the things that I think have been lost a little bit in this kind of, like, we've got to, like, sterilize the workplace from...
Or demasculize.
Yeah, well, no, yeah, but, like, also, like, So we've got to take the drinking culture out of it. We've got to take the and at the same time, so take the drinking culture out of it. Got to take the don't talk about sport and all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, I'll bring your true self to work day, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But just not that version of you. Just just the version that fits in very neatly to our.
Well, I mean, every company has their set of behaviors too, so we have to remember that it's not as if they really mean bring your true self to work. You still have to fit in the behaviors. And most places, you're judged in your annual review on behaviors as well as what you've achieved, right? Now, getting out of work for a second, let's talk about this next section, which, there's a bit more tactics and strategy here. So this next section, Dale Carnegie talks about how to win people to your way of thinking. So this is influence, right? This is trying to actually influence people without force. Right, so this is kind of we're getting somewhere here, all right? To a different arena where you need someone to do something. You need them to come with you, right? And you may or may not have power over them from a hierarchy sense. So the first one, it says avoid arguments, right? So arguments harden positions rather than changing minds. Okay. Then he's got show respect for others' opinions. Never tell someone they're wrong outright. If you're wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically. Okay. Begin in a friendly way. Get other people to say, person saying yes immediately. Start with agreement. Let the other person do most of the talking. Let the other person feel the idea is theirs. Try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. Appeal to noble motives. Dramatize your ideas and throw down a challenge. So quite a lot in this space. But let's the one that caught my eye was this idea of never say someone is wrong, right? Because I think in 2025, where we are in the throes of conflict porn and confrontainment and all this kind of stuff, that is just not what is happening. Like the amount of content that I consume, or even in the workplace, like that happens all the time now, where people just say, "No, you're wrong." Like they literally use those words, or they'll kind of like just be like, "No, that's not correct." What are your thoughts on this?
Again, this probably workplace is different. Like I think. One of the things that's probably emerged since this book is this idea of like trying to counter groupthink and trying to sort of when you get people working together, how to kind of make sure that you don't have these like weird social dynamics set up. And I think there's definitely like a place for the person who not just plays devil's advocate, but that in some ways, like takes the conversation to, explore alternative viewpoints, like almost as a check. But that's a very narrow, like social setting, right? Like, thinking about like thinking about like you're in the kitchen, the office kitchen, and someone's telling you about some documentary they saw on the Fox News or something about how there was this big like Democrat cover up or something, like well, maybe with something like that, it's politically motivated. People will probably say, that's bullshit. Well, you don't trust them. It might even turn into a banter kind of situation, right? Like I think there is a mode of conversation you can get into where it's like, sure, that's bullshit. You're full of shit. Like, that can be a kind of almost a fun conversation that both enjoy rather than it being like
I think that's a good word for it, like that Australian banter where you start ribbing on each other.
Yeah.
But I think this is good because in my experience, whether it's work or social settings, there's 3 levels of this, right? And the tolerance for this. And I've met all 3 of these people. I know all 3 of these people. There's the kind of person who will listen to something and they'll say, "Oh, I don't think that's quite right. Maybe that's wrong," or something like that, right? So there's the kind of what you're saying could be wrong, and that's how they'll position it. Like, I'm not sure about that. Then there's the person that says just straight out, "That's wrong. That's fucking wrong. That's bullshit." And then there's the final form of this Pokemon, which is like, it's not that what you've said's wrong. You're wrong, and they'll literally say those words like, "That's you're wrong. You're wrong," right? And they'll kind of dig their heels in. And I know these 3 types of people, and I must say that, like, the top of the mountain, the person who says you're wrong, right? And we've all done it in the heat of battle at times, but there's a type of person who uses it freely, and they use it partly as a tactic to be more assertive and aggressive. And other people, they're maybe not. They're just not good with people. They have a image that's a little bit more disagreeable, and they bank on that. And I think that what I've seen is it's very, very hard to come back from a you're wrong unless you have a very, very close relationship with that person, right? Like I'm talking bros, I'm talking family, husband and wife, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's obviously not generally a good idea. You will make enemies that way.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what you're talking about. I don't think, a relationship will be ruined because someone said that, it was some actor that in a movie and the wife says, no, you're wrong, it was this other person. But, yeah.
No, but I mean, like, you've met these kind of disagreeable characters. I mean, like I said, we've all been there at one point or another, but people who do it on
I think it's when it's like if you, where it stings is where, like, you don't feel like the other person even understands what you're talking about. Like, so it's like, let's say you're putting together like a plan or you're presenting like a, some thinking on something, and then, yeah, it doesn't, it's just like, it's like, I don't mind you telling me I'm wrong and why I'm wrong, but you couldn't even communicate why I'm wrong because like you don't understand what I'm actually saying.
All right. And the other one I wanted to throw in there, because I think that in 2025, year of Big Daddy Trump coming back, which is this idea of saying if you're wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically. Trump famously, from Roy Cohn and others, has this mantra of never, ever apologize. Never admit defeat, never apologize. And you know what? It kind of seems to be working, right? Especially if the goal is to influence people. What do you think?
I think that strategy is very, very, very powerful for one person on this planet, and that's Donald Trump, for whatever reason.
Obviously, Roy Cohn as well.
Well, I think it was successful for him, like, because it's almost he's owned, like, he is every time he doesn't apologize for something that every other person on this planet would be expected to apologize for, it's seen by his base and his supporters as, oh, good, we're trolling the libs again, or something like that, right? Some variation of that, or and I think it's hard for, like, he's got that, like he's been appointed, like he's the king, he's got, like, there can only be one king, and he is the king, and I think it works for him in that setting, but it doesn't necessarily work for anyone else. Like,
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, let's tie a bow on the last section, and the last section is the final section is about how to be a leader. So basically, is this idea of giving correction and leadership. So basically, giving negative feedback without offending people, or kind of intervening without offending people. So he's got begin with praise and honest appreciation. Call attention to mistakes indirectly, so preserve dignity. Talk about your own mistakes before criticizing others. Ask questions instead of giving orders. Let the other person save face. Public humiliation destroys loyalty. Praise the slightest improvement. Give the other person a fine reputation to live up to. People rise to expectations. Encourage and make faults seem easy to correct. And make the other person happy about doing the thing you suggest. That all under the guise of how to correct and how to give feedback. Anything there that rubs you the wrong way?
That reminds me of our last performance appraisal, actually. No, I think it's not that I necessarily think any of that's wrong, but I think there are books written about, like, there's scores and scores of books written about, how to give feedback and how to manage and how to, and I'm not sure this reflects, like, the most up-to-date advice.
Well, I'm pretty sure this was written in the 30s.
Yeah, so...
when was it written? I really like calling out this idea of allowing people to save face. Because, I love the drama of a good public reaming. But, it's so rare these days because of everything we've mentioned, especially in the office. But those days are gone. And I do think that this whole public humiliation thing is just not called for nowadays.
Yeah,
it very rarely gets the
I think
people want.
I think that's not a thing in modern workplaces at all. At least shouldn't be. But I do think sometimes, like, people value, like, I think where perhaps we've turned a corner is that advice seems very much like, well, I mean, the whole point is, like, how to have people like you kind of thing. And I think there certainly in a professional setting, there is, I think, a respect for almost like giving the frank and fearless advice or feedback on performance or whatever it is, where even when it's unpopular, like, and that's valued and that's respected. And so there's like this potentially this one-dimensional chess kind of layer that this book's talking about. But I think a 2 or 3D or 4D chess would say, hey, like, people won't respect you if you're this guy who's always so nice and lovely and everyone likes. Like, so you might be seen as a nice guy, but that's not what will get you respect. What will get you respect is, and respect's like another, it's like that richer, deeper layer of people wanting to be part of your orbit.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, that mode doesn't earn you the higher tier.
You know what it kind of reminds me of? The whole flavor of this book, right? Is a little bit of, the dating game. This whole idea of nice guys finish last. And it's this conundrum where, that there's all these things you can do to be a good partner and attractive mate and all this kind of thing. But there's also all these loopholes that seem to work by manipulating certain dynamics, certain, psychological traits and so on. And you could mount an argument like you kind of did at the start of this episode, which was, hey, like, you don't want to attract those women anyway, right? Like, why would you want to trick all these type of women into being with you when you should just find your people, find your woman, right? And that could be right. But then again, the motives could be different. And the fact that something works doesn't mean it's actually, an adaptive behavior. It could be maladaptive, right? So I think that it reminds me a little bit of that. And I think that this book was written a long time ago. There's a lot of sound advice that is insightful into the human nature that still holds true. But I also think that in 2025, one of the biggest things I think is social media. I hate to bring it back to social media, but we're so different now. I think that today with social media, we're just so on the lookout for manipulation, right? Like, and that's only going to get worse with AI, paid promotions. Like, what someone wants something from us. How do we know that their online persona is the same as their offline persona, and that's the only way we would judge something like authenticity? Like, all that stuff is just so fragile now. Like, there's no trust. We're in such a low trust environment that I think that this all breaks down, right? Saying all of that, right? So obviously this is an old book. It's an incomplete book, right? Much like the Bible. No, kidding. It's hard not to read this as a little bit of a manifesto of how to get your work experience for Gen Zs. If how to socialize properly. And I think that if this can be seen as the basics of what you could do or what you could practice, not necessarily a bad thing in my opinion. What I really hate is this move to this positivity culture. And I think that's coming full circle and was never truly adopted by Australians, but it's still there. This idea of like being positive, manifesting change. And I do like the idea of throwing that off because complaining, negative. I love negative people, because all of that drives comedy. It drives innovation, and the urge to destroy or to criticize can be a very like creative urge. So I think that still good advice in 2025. But hey, be your own person.
So I don't know what your friend's name is, but I think my tip would be listen to the middle, and you don't even need friends.
We've got a huge backlog. We can be your friends.
All right, over and out.
1936.